What's up, peeps? OCD Mikey Hi-Fi Guy here for another discussion about hi-fi. What I want to talk about is I'm going to tell you a little story. Shall we? Story time with Mikey. Once upon a time, there was a story. Once upon a time, there was something called the line stage. That's for you, Alberto. I'm doing my Italian thing there. Okay, so we're going to talk about line stage. We're going to talk about preamps, okay? And this is no diss to anybody or any company or whatever. I'm just talking to you the way I always talk to you, which is from my brain out my mouth. There's like the filter, it's gone. I'm just telling you how I feel. But, okay, so check this out. Once upon a time, you had something called your stereo set, right? People would buy the stereo set. And it was the thing called the line stage, okay, or it's a preamp, right? But if you want to sound like you know what you're talking about, you call it a line stage, because that's the technical term for it. It's a line stage, okay? So the preamp, what the preamp was for, okay, was because you could plug everything into it. You could switch back and forth, and you had your tape loop. So it was imperative that you have a preamp when you had a turntable and you had a cassette player, so you could record your albums and then put them in the tune box, take them to the car, play them wherever. You had a portable music in the form of a cassette. So you had this tape loop thing, and you would record. You had a tuner, you had a turntable, or record player. You had a tape deck or a cassette deck. And that was pretty much it. Tape deck, turntable, tuner. And then maybe you had, I don't know, something else. A DAT or I don't know. You can put other things in there. But usually there was at least those things. A tuner, a tape deck, a cassette deck or a reel-to-reel, and a turntable. And you used to record. You'd record off the radio, you would record your albums, you would dupe and dub tapes for your friends, make party mixes, whatever the hell. But it was imperative that you had this piece called a preamp because it allowed the recording function. It allowed you to switch between your different sources, and you had the levels and all that stuff on it, and not on the preamp, but on your tape deck. And so you needed it, okay? And to this day, if you have a turntable, even if your only source is a turntable, you still need a preamp for the volume control, because the phono pre, it's not set up for having volume on it and running the volume on your rig. Now, there may be a few exceptions to that. I don't know. I have made a conscious effort and a conscious decision, rather, not to enter the vinyl thing, okay? Right now, if you buy a preamp, okay, for most of us, especially if you're only digital and you're just streaming, you're buying a very expensive volume control. Now, here's what people will say, and this is true. In a rig that is not world class, okay, if you do not have a world-class DAC with a world-class output section and volume control, then you put in a preamp, and it's like sprinkling fairy dust onto your audio system. You can take an otherwise normal-sounding audio system, and you can make it sound a lot better just by putting the preamp in. I don't know what they do, but it's additive for sure, because it adds something. It adds this glory. It adds something that is like, if you have tubes a lot of times in the preamp, which is kind of a fun thing to do, you can really give this ethereal sort of feeling to your audio rig, okay? What I prefer to do is to sell my clients a DAC that has the world-class volume control on the output, so you don't need the preamp, okay? Because again, in an all-digital rig, or in an all-digital rig, you do not need a preamp at all, okay? You can save the money from the preamp, buy a better DAC. And I'm not talking about, I know a couple DACs that have the killer volume control that do the magic without a preamp, and I'm not going to divulge them right now because I'm going to sell them, and because I know exactly which ones they are, and there's only a few that are capable of it. You'll be able to buy them from me, okay? But in my opinion, to go buy an expensive preamp, especially if you have an all-digital rig, it is, in my opinion, it's a waste of money because it is only a volume control. You're going to spend 20 grand on a volume control? You Stugats? I mean, come on. What's the problem? Get a better deck. Save that money from the preamp, put it into a deck. Now look, if you're looking to create something like this old school rig and you want it to be all old school with all the boxes and all the stuff, knock yourself out. Go for it, okay? But if you're a realist and you are more into not really the show of it, but you just want, look, what is a stereo for in the end? For me, it's about connecting to the music. That's it. I don't give a crap about the look. I don't have to show it off. I don't really care about showing it off because what it's for is the experience of listening to music, right? So I want whatever connects me with the music in the best way possible in a reasonable way. To me, a $24,000 DAC is reasonable. A $15,000 DAC is totally reasonable. Below the 15, the next step we got is about 7,500, where I'll take it serious with the volume control. Anything below that, you know, you're going to need a preamp, most likely. But to get the expensive preamps, to me, look, I had what many people consider, you go on the forums, you know, where the people have the dough, like what's best for them. A lot of, there's guys that actually have big systems that give a shit about being on a forum at the What's Best forum. On AudioGone, you won't usually find that as much. And so I had a Nat Audio MagnetoStat SE, $25,000 preamp line stage with an outboard power supply. And this thing was magic. Like every single rig I had, whenever I changed out stuff, I'd throw in that Nat, and damn, if it didn't just like totally make everything better. It was like fairy dust until I got the Playback Designs DAC, and I have two others that, Playback has a 15K and a 24K. That's the point is, spend more on your DAC and don't buy a preamp if you have an all-digital rig. You can supersede the preamp. I superseded my $25,000 preamp with a kick-ass DAC that has a kick-ass output stage. And I'm talking about the Playback Designs MPD-8. The MPD-6, the Edelweiss, does a very good job as well. And that's 15. And then I've got one other that I'm not going to mention right now until I have 5 of them in stock. And I tell you guys about them, and then you can buy them from me. And it's not the MA3 Meitner. That thing needs a preamp, okay? That is the point that I wanted to make. When you have an all-digital rig, a preamp is an expensive volume control, and it's not worth your money. You're better off putting that money into a better DAC and having that do all the magic, okay? Because it can and it does do the magic. I still like preamps, don't get me wrong. I keep my preamps. I didn't keep the Nat, okay, because it was a lot of dough and I'd rather have that dough. But I keep a First Sound, and I've got, man, that thing is sick. It's right here, okay? Let me show you a preamp. This one is a single-ended preamp, okay? So I don't use single-ended very often, but when I do, this is my preamp, okay? It's got dual volume controls left and right, dual source select. This is how dual mono this thing in. It's so OCD dual mono that you've got dual mono source selectors, which makes no sense because you couldn't listen to tape on the left and CD on the right. I guess you could, but it would be whacked out, right? This has a single tube. Let's see if we can. I think I might be able to. Yep. Okay. So this thing, wait till let me lift this puppy up. This is a heavy cover. Okay, can you see this? See all those caps? Okay, a single tube, you know, a double tube. That's right. The first one is a voltage regulator. And then that is the output tube. The output tube I don't have in here. A single cap on the output with a piggyback. All completely point-to-point wired, no PC boards. Point-to-point caps. It's beefy. It's got, I've got a dual, these cords that come off back are for the power supply. They're military grade. Let me find the end so you can see how those, they use those on like a tank or something. Those go to the power supplies. There's a left power supply. See if I have them out here. I have them in the closet. But there's two power supplies, one for the left channel, one for the right channel. So two dual mono power supplies, dual mono architecture. That's a sick preamp, okay? You can pick those up used for like, I think you can pick them up used for around $6K or something like that. First sound, made in California, made in United States. A great preamp, single-ended, no remote. Okay, you're gonna have to get up, but it does have detents in here. And you'll know a good preamp when you see a long stick that goes to the potentiometer, which is at the back. See if I can get in there. You see that? Can you see all that? All this copper in here, the ground plane, and here's the there's my that's the volume control right there with all those Vichy resistors on there. Okay, that's what you call a pretty kick-ass stepped attenuator. Okay, look at all the wires that go to it. They're flying wires that go there, no PC boards. That's a sick level of line stage, okay? And for 6K, you can crush and absolutely crush. Used, right? Good luck finding one. But they're probably about 24 now, something like that for their top of the line. This was top of the line of its time when this one was, I don't know how old it is, maybe 12 years, 15 years, something like that. But anyways, so, you know, I keep them around for fun, but in my rig, as you can tell, all I have is this. This is all I need. This to the amps. I have a crossover, but if I'm using two speakers, let's say, and not, I'm using a speaker that has a single input, I should say, instead of a four-way like I've got here, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need 4 amps to power my speakers. With this, you just need 1 amp. Then I don't need the crossover. Then you can go straight out of the DAC to an amp to the speakers. Okay? So I just wanted to go over line stage thing and how you don't need one. People talk to me all the time, dude, do I need a line stage? I'm going to spend some money on a line stage. I'm like, no. Dude, I go, do you have vinyl? No. Okay, then what are you doing? You don't need a preamp. Don't buy one. Buy a better DAC, okay? So anyways, that was my point for the day. Wanted to tell you that. And have any comments? Go ahead and tell me how great your preamp is and how magical it is. Trust me, I know magical preamps. I just showed you one, but I don't use it. Okay, that's for fun when I want to do single-ended stuff, and I bring out the single-ended tube amps like you saw those monoblocks over there. Bring out some tube single-ended monoblocks, put single driver speakers, and have some fun that way, and just for fun, nostalgia's sake. But my normal rig, no preamp, not needed. Okay, so wanted to say that. See ya.